Conditional operators. So conditional operators are used for checking multiple conditions together. So why don't we have a look and see what we can understand about conditional operators. Conditional AND operator. So this operator is represented by the symbol ampersand ampersand. Now, in this operation, the result is true if both operands are true. So this operator doesn't check the second condition if the first condition is false, right? It'll check the second condition only if the first one is true. The conditional OR operator. So this operator is represented by the symbol double pipe. Now, in this operation, the result is true if either of the operands is true. Does that make sense? This operator doesn't check the second condition if the first condition is true. It checks the second condition only if the first one is false. Ternary operator. This operator is represented by the symbol $:. So this operator consists of 3 operands and is used to evaluate Boolean expressions. This operator can be thought of as a shorthand for an if-then-else statement. Now, we're going to get into that a little deeper in the control flow statements of this lesson. But first, let's make some examples with conditional operators. In the exercise project, right-click on the operator package and select New Class, and specify the name as Conditional Operator, and select the checkbox for the main method. Okay, so let's start to code. So we'll declare 3 variables with the int type. First, number 1, and assign 5. Second, number 2, and assign 8. And lastly, number 3, and assign 12. Okay, so let's declare a variable result with the Boolean type. The default value for a Boolean is false. So we'll use the conditional AND operator and assign the result to the variable result. If number 1 is greater than number 2 and number 3 is greater than number 1, then the result is true, else the result is false. Now, in order to get the result to be true in the conditional AND operator, all Boolean expressions must be true. So now let's print the result value by using the print method. Okay, so now we can run the code, and you see it in the console. Result equals false, because number 1 is not greater than number 2. So now if we use the conditional OR operator, we can assign the result to the variable result. So if number 1 is greater than number 2, or number 3 is greater than number 2, then the result is true, else the result is false. So in order to get the result to be true in the conditional OR operator, at least one expression must be true. So we'll copy the print method. Alrighty, so let's run the code. And you can see that in the console, the result equals true, because number 3 is still greater than number 2. Now let's have a look at the ternary operator. So we can use the ternary operator, and we can assign the result to the variable result. If the number is less than number 2, then the result is true, else the result is false. So let's copy the print method. Okay, we can run the code. Result equals true, because number 1 is less than number 2. All right. Operator precedence. Now, it's important to remember and to know how Java interprets the symbols you use to perform specific operations and in what order it interprets them. Otherwise, we could write a program with one result in mind and receive an entirely different result, right? So as you can see here in the table, the priority column is the most important because it defines the strict order in which Java interprets the symbols displayed in the operator column. An operator higher in the table always takes precedence over an operator that's lower in the table. Now, here's the important and key point in this part. If you want to change the order in which an expression is evaluated, you have got to use parentheses. So any part of an expression that is enclosed in parentheses is evaluated first. So let's see how that works with an example of operator precedence. In the exercise project, right-click on the operator package and select New Class, and specify the class name as Operator Precedence, and then select the checkbox for the main method. And let's declare a variable result with the int type and assign 5 plus 2 multiply by 4. Okay, so let's print the result value by using the print method. Now we can run the code. Result is 13, not 28, because precedence of multiplication operator is higher than the additive operator. So here multiplication is performed before adding, and the result value is 13. So I'll show you another example. So let's assign the in the parenthesis 5 plus 2 and multiply by 4 to the variable result. And let's copy the print method. Okay, let's run the code, and the result is 28. So here the expression enclosed in parentheses is evaluated first, and then the multiplication is done. So first, 5 plus 2 equals 7 is done, and then 7 is multiplied by 4, and the result equals 28. So let's do another example with the unary operator precedence. So why don't we declare 4 variables with the int type, first x, and assign 8, second y, and assign 4, third z, assign 2, and the last sum, assign 0. So let's assign x plus minus minus y plus minus minus z to the variable sum, and let's copy the print method. Okay, so let's run the code, and the result is 12, because the operator precedence of the unary operator is higher than the additive operator. Now, in this section, we will learn about Java expressions, Java statements, differences between expressions and statements, as well as Java blocks. So now that we understand the variables and operators and how they work, it's easier to learn about expressions, statements, and blocks. You may ask, why is that? Well, we might actually combine variables and operators to form expressions. That's right. Expressions are the core components of statements, and statements may be grouped into blocks. That's why it's important to stay organized, right? Expressions consist of variables, as well as operators and method calls, and those evaluate to a single value. So you'll see some examples of expressions illustrated in red. So here, max speed equals 280 is an expression that returns int and data type. Int is not part of an expression. So typically, except data type and semicolon forms an expression. Result equals 5 plus 8 is an expression, and the result is now 13. In the brackets, x plus y multiplied by 2.5 is an expression. Also, it is named a compound expression. Now, when writing compound expressions, please be careful to indicate with parentheses which operators should be evaluated first. Number 1 equals to number 2. Now, that's an expression that returns a Boolean. Similarly, equal is a string expression. All right, so let's look at statements. A statement forms a complete unit of execution. Note here, please, that it's necessary to add a semicolon at the end of a statement. Now, expressions are part of statements. So you see examples of statements in the slide. All the examples are statements, so they're illustrated in red. Okay, so finally, let's have a look at the blocks. So a block is a group of 0 or more statements that is enclosed in curly braces. And you see an example of the block in the slide. Now, there is one statement inside the block. A block may contain a whole lot of statements. Control flow statements. Now, I promised you earlier, so in this section, we're going to learn the fundamentals of Java programming language. And we're going to learn decision-making statements, such as if statements and switch case statements. Then we're going to have fun with looping statements, such as for each, while, and do while as loop statements. Then we're going to learn the branching statements, such as break, continue, and return. Decision-making statements. Decision-making structures have one or more conditions to be evaluated or tested by the program. So if you look at the diagram, it shows if some condition occurs, check the condition. If that condition is true, execute the conditional code. If the conditional is false, pass the conditional code, and then continue. Make sense? So there are two types of decision-making statements in Java. They are if statements and switch statements. If statements are used to test the condition. So it'll check the Boolean condition true or false. There are various types of if statements in Java. We can classify these statements as if statements, if-else statements, if-else if-ladder statements, and a nested if statement. So why don't we take a closer look at the if statement and the if-else statement syntax. First up, Java if statement tests the condition. If the condition is true, it executes the if block. And then secondly, the Java if-else statement also tests the condition. If the condition is true, it executes the if block. Otherwise, the else block is executed. So why don't I show you some examples of the if-else statement. So in the exercise project, right-click on the source folder and select New and Class. Specify the package name as Decision Making and the class name as if-else statement. Select the checkbox for the main method. So here we're going to use the scanner class for getting input from the user in Java. Now first, we'll need to import the scanner class. And if you hover your mouse over the scanner word, the word scanner there, see how the import options are shown? So if we choose import scanner class in java.util package to import the scanner class, we get a message to enter the number by using the print method. And we'll declare a variable number with the int type and assign next int as our method of scanner class to this number. So now let's start to write the if statement. In the if statement, we'll check the number, whether this number is even or odd. So if a number is divisible by 2, then it is even, otherwise it's odd. So we'll use a modulus operator to find the remainder. If the remainder is 0, then the number is even, right? Then finally, we'll close the scanner object by using the close method. Okay, so let's go ahead and run the code. In the console screen, we'll enter 8, and 8 is an even number, so the condition is true, and codes inside the body of the if are executed. Okay, so let's run the code again. And in the console screen, let's enter 7. 7, of course, as you and I both know, is an odd number, so the condition is false. And the codes inside the body of the if are not executed. So now let's add the else statement to the code. If the condition is evaluated to be false, the else statement is executed. And we'll add the print method to include number is odd text in the else block. Okay, so let's run the code. On the console screen, we'll enter 12. And we get number is even, and that's the message from the if statement. And that's good. So let's run the code again, and we'll enter 13, and we get the number is odd, and that's the message from the else statement.